What's some scary truth that humanity has to accept? Disclaimer. We would like to remind you that the stories told in this video do not necessarily reflect our thoughts and opinion here at Our Story. Story 1. Nobody actually knows what the frick is going on. Story 2. Plenty of things are fake. Story 3. Quote unquote, the world won't end, it will just change its name. A quote by David Byrne. Story 4. Tinnitus, which is basically constant ringing and noises created by the brain, has no cure and is very easy to get. Don't take your silence and peace for granted. Edit. Thank you for all the upvotes, but seriously, I want all of you to help bring a worldwide awareness to this horrible condition. It's our veterans' #1 disability in the military. Millions of Americans suffer from it silently. COVID is giving it to people in record-breaking numbers. There is no cure. Don't believe anyone who tells you otherwise. It usually progresses as you age, and if you got it like me and it's constant, you are really living day to day. You're no longer living. I had this for a decade, and I got it when I was young from listening to loud music, and every day the victims get younger and younger. People often sells over this, it's that bad, and it has nothing to do with their mental state. Severe tinnitus will drive anyone insane. Don't take your silence for granted and be kind to one another. Please help get tinnitus the spotlight it needs so that we can get more research and treatments for it. Because like I said, it's very easy to get. Let's cure it before it's too late. Story 5. You aren't as in control of your body as you'd like to think. A single disease, accident, etc. could render you a prisoner inside of your own body. Story 6. When you die, one of 3 things will happen. First thing, someone will watch you die. Second, someone will find your body. Or third, no one will find your body. Story 7. Cascadia subduction zone earthquake. 10 to 30% chance a 9+ magnitude earthquake will hit the PNW in the next 50 years. The West Coast is not prepared. Story 8. I don't care that you broke your elbow. Story 9. People genuinely don't care what happens in the future. Story 10. That at any moment you can be gone forever without even getting a chance to think about it. Edit. I'd prefer this too, but still, it's just crazy to think about. Story 11. That we are taking a lot of things that we consider natural for granted. One day we are going to be waking up to a world without it. Story 12. People would rather sound right than be right. Story 13. Microplastics are crossing the blood-brain barrier. We are about to see a rise in plastic-related brain diseases. Frick climate change, frick inflation, frick war. It's going to be plastic that ends humanity. Story 14. We are a reactive instead of proactive society, and that will eventually lead to our demise as a species. Story 15. Commercial fishing is killing our oceans at a faster rate than any other pollution combined. Story 16. At this moment, there's a microscopic creature living and walking in your face, eating dead skin. Story 17. That one day humanity will go extinct and there will be nobody left to even remember any of it. Story 18. Honestly, I believe that most people can't accept that they're going to eventually die. The human brain can't deal with it. The pursuit of power, money, and material things, it's all in an effort to distract ourselves from acknowledging that someday we are going to die. Story 19. Your favorite animal may go extinct in your lifetime. Gone. Forever. Story 20. Cluster headache frequency follows a long trail distribution, meaning the people who suffer the most are in fact more like billionaires of suffering, rather than just people who suffer a lot. Life is not fair, it's exponentially unfair. Story 21. Even if we stopped burning fossil fuels in 2021, it would take over a century to return to the 1980 levels. Story 22. We are our own worst enemy. Story 23. We will never have that kumbaya moment where everyone agrees on a path away from climate disaster and cooperates to achieve it. I realized this on a recent walk where I saw a ton of Takis wrappers on the ground, outside of a school. If humans haven't yet reached a consensus answer to the simple question of whether we should toss trash in a trash can or over our shoulders, we're never gonna figure out stuff like coal versus solar. Story 24. Every hand you shake has touched genitalia. Story 25. It's worse than you think it is. It's also better than you think it is. Story 26. The universe is under no obligation to make sense to us. Story 27. The world has grown too large for individuals to really understand, and because of that, we will continue to try and apply localized solutions to global problems and be surprised when it fails. Story 28. A lot of humans aren't meant or mentally stable to reproduce humans. I'd wager it might be cheaper to pay people not to have kids, as opposed to all the money that isn't funded in social service. Unpopular opinion. Story 29. You are what you are. You cannot define it yourself except through discovery, and you are infinitely more complicated than you realize. Story 30. That people would rather burn the whole world to the ground just to rule over the ashes. Story 31. Everyone is selfish to some extent. There is no such thing as a truly selfless person. Some are just more selfish than others. We all live to serve ourselves. Not that it's wrong to be a little selfish. Story 32. The majority of politicians don't give two fricks about the average person. Only a person's vote. Story 33. Twitter isn't reality, and a large percentage of its regular users are the most toxic and entitled people imaginable. This is something politicians and Hollywood desperately needs to understand. Story 34. Exponent exists, and coupling exponential growth with finite resources creates a problem. Edit. Below. People not understanding exponents. People not understanding resources are finite. And people assuming I am only talking about population. Oh, and people that seem not to think that population curves leveling out due to disease, famine, or resource wars fits the description of a problem. Story 35. In the end, we are all only stories. Story 36. If we're going to ever have a hope of seriously reversing/combating climate change, we're going to have to collectively give up a lot of luxuries to do it. Story 37. Reposts will never stop. Story 38. COVID isn't going anywhere. It's endemic, and it's the new, more deadly flu. Story 39. We're probably past the tipping point of this planet becoming less habitable for our species. Emissions, toxic metals, straight up garbage, microplastics. It's too late to put the genie back in the bottle. Story 34. If there are limits to birth control, including abortions, there's going to be awful cases of murder, infanticide, and neglect. Story 42. Nuclear weapons will be used again. There's just not a chance in hell that technology could be developed and not used when nations are backed into a corner. And it could happen in our lifetime. Story 43. Probably we won't stop our upcoming extinction. Story 44. We all came from someone nothing. Story 45. It's already too late to save millions from climate change. Story 46. George Bush didn't care about black people. Story 47. That democracy could be much better. That we aren't many years and steps away from tyrants and kings, both in regards to the future and the past. We have far to go and much to do in order to improve. There will likely be battles to fight to convince our current nobility. Story 48. Any economic system that relies on perpetual growth to sustain itself will inevitably collapse. Story 49. At the moment, humanity's biggest threat of extinction is humanity itself. Story 50. The great algorithmic switch of 2016 ignited the beginning of an ideological divide that will probably contribute to some level of societal collapse. Firstly, what is the great algorithmic switch? Remember when we all got those TNA updates in 2016 from Google along with virtually every social media page? This was the year that news went from a generic feed of important things to a feed customized by algorithm to give you what you are most likely to like or engage with. Why is this bad, you ask? If you feel as though society has become more ideologically polarized in recent years, what you're likely remembering is everything since this event. This was the true beginning of the echo chamber effect where, combined with the communal power of the internet, we are being algorithmically organized in neat boxes that literally trap us in a bubble of confirmation bias. We're fed what we want to hear, and then we gravitate towards communities who are similarly ultra removed from other narratives. Now, it's not just that if you grow up a conservative, you'll get more conservative news, it's that you'll likely get conservative news that make you angry about liberals, and vice versa, because that creates more interaction than a standard news story. We're constantly now being fed reactionary content. Worse still, companies are incentivized to make us hate each other because this literally causes us to spend longer on their website interacting with content that emotionally hijacks us. As such, we are losing the ability to manage our interactions, to step back far enough to see things beyond the dualities of left and right. As a result, the middle ground upon which we can reason and communicate effectively, where we can come to agreements and calmly debate both sides of an argument, where we can sit with the people we disagree with and get to know them, where we can learn and create understanding, where we can make compromises, is being eroded for profit. Without it, we lose the space that unifies our otherwise tribal mentalities and we regress back into warring states. And this is exactly what is happening before our eyes. We are being made irreconcilably hostile towards one another. This tends toward the direction of escalating rhetoric and violence. Everyone is silent on the power of the algorithm to convince us of things that might never have been there to begin with. We can begin to imagine that we always hated a certain group, and unless ethical frameworks somehow develop to directly address this issue of societal compartmentalization under surveillance capitalism, then we'll probably end up with total communication breakdown. This can easily encumber socioeconomic complexity, stagnation through lack of cooperation. Look at any country with a cult-like following of left or right, where it's likely that everyone's getting equally screwed. It's a perfect case study that demonstrates a shift in our awareness. We think that the only option is to choose sides, as we're pushed towards extremes, forgetting that there is always a third option. Anyway, I'm just spitballing. Peace. What is something you think humanity has to hear? Tell us in the comments. That's all for today, folks. Thank you for watching and see you in the next one.